When I was 16, people thought I was a smart, sensitive, and inquisitive young man. I wanted to know and understand everything about the world around me, about society and about humanity. Coming from a family of fervent Quebec nationalists, I was passionate about the future of Quebec. However, I was very disappointed by the lack of interest of my fellow youth in the cause. I had the impression that my ideal of a free and strong Quebec nation was dying. This drove me to become more informed and get involved. At the outset, I was simply curious, but I ended up believing that a nation could have an enemy. That idea was in vogue at the time. It emerged after the highly publicized scandal of the power plays to influence the outcome of the Quebec independence referendum in 1995. I became increasingly passionate about history at the expense of the other humanities. I looked for answers in the past, at times glorious and at times sordid. I was particularly interested by the fascist movements in 20th century Europe. The people I associated with and the things I read led me to develop an embittered, polarized worldview of a black and white world where only good and evil existed. I became an extreme nationalist, an ultra-nationalist. In my entourage, I was told that I should hate my enemies. It's easy to hate those who seem to have wronged us, immigrants, leftists, Jews. My worldview was biased, and my reading of reality did not correspond to the facts. I needed to compensate and figure out how to explain this inadequacy. For me, conspiracy theories became the mortar that held together the ideological brick wall of right-wing extremism. They perfectly explained why others did not have the same vision of the world as me. I went way beyond being a simple nationalist. My socializing, my outlook on the future, and even my happiness became imbued with this ultra-nationalist ideal, and I dove right in. I ended up believing in racial supremacy. The notion of human races helped explain why my nation was precious, unique, and even superior, not only in its cultural heritage, but in its genetic heritage as well. Both had to be defended. I became antagonistic towards everything that was not white, European, Christian, or pagan. I even adopted the American white supremacist slogan, "We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children." In my everyday life, I was constantly offended by a slew of new enemies: the local mosque, black people at the grocery store, and Marxist students, those traitors to the nation. Worst of all were the parents of mixed-race children, because they betrayed both their nation and their race. I began to detest everyone I felt was too weak to engage in my struggle. I was bitter, angry, and sometimes violent in what I said to my friends and family. Over time, fewer and fewer people associated with me. However, the worst was still to come. I hit rock bottom when I was arrested, hauled into court, and expelled from school. Instead of making me change my mind, that experience only bolstered me in my belief that the whole system was in league against me and my ideal. I felt that peaceful action couldn't cut it anymore. Only a revolution could put an end to the corrupt status quo and create a new order, a purer order, a more nationalistic one in which I could finally feel at home. War had to be declared. In my darkest moments, I planned it. The cause was just, the means legitimate, the urgency real, and my suffering omnipresent. I had to die in order to trigger hostilities and become the first martyr of this white nationalist revolution that I dreamed of and that would make my suffering go away. In my darkest moments, yes, I did plan to kill people to provoke a war. I won't tell you how I eventually came out of all that. At the time, there was no help for radicalized individuals like me, but today it's different. I've told you my story so that you can understand how I got there. My worldview has changed since then. I have changed. We can redeem ourselves. It all boils down to the choices we make.